Good evening, one and all, and welcome to yet another fantastic edition of the Celebrity Creator Show. Kathy, how are you doing tonight?
Brian, I am rocking and ready to go. How about you?
Oh, I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. It's going to rock. We are breaking a record tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Our next guest, this will be her fourth, count it, her fourth appearance on our show. That is more than anyone else. That makes her the most famous, the biggest celebrity that has ever graced our stage. And there's reason why, good reason why.
Woo!
So let's get right down to it and introduce you for the fourth time to this wonderful, wonderful woman. Linda P. Jones has over 25 years of experience in management and sales in the financial industry. Prior to starting her companies, Linda was a vice president of Morgan Stanley Investment Management, responsible for representing top money managers in an 8-state territory with over $200 million in annual sales of institutional funds, mutual funds, and alternative investments. Yes, you guessed it, there's more. She is currently the founder and CEO of the Global Institute of Wealth for Women and America's Wealth Mentor. Linda became a self-made millionaire at age 38 by investing and teaching women how to invest and build wealth, even in a lousy economy. As a wealth mentor, Linda educates clients to understand exactly what's going on in the economy, how it moves in cycles, and how the decline of the dollar is the most important trend to your wealth building right now. She believes the opportunity to build wealth is the greatest today more than ever, if you know where to invest. Linda begins with your inner wealth picture so you create a wealthy mindset and then teaches you the money engines that will grow your wealth. She is not a traditional financial advisor. Rather, she is an educator that empowers her clients to become wealthy and smart with their money. Oh, by the way, Linda is also one of our featured contributors. This is a shameless plug, who is giving away
Yeah.
a fabulous prize via
Go for
our
it.
amazing Celebrity Creators Contest. So after the show, you can click on that button that says contest up there. Amazing contest, but not now. Not now. With that, without further ado, we would like to welcome to our fantastic and wonderful show, the fantastic and wonderful Linda P. Jones. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Kathy. Great to be back. Thank you so much for having me again. It's always just a blast to be with you.
Hi, Linda. We are so excited to have you back. And this is the really cool thing about having you as a guest. 4 times absolutely is a record, but you always bring fresh, new content and information about wealth building because you are so cutting edge in what it is that you do. You stay ahead of the trend, so you're always bringing us new information on how to build wealth. So, what a perfect topic for tonight's show, how to build wealth on a budget. So, let me ask you this, and I'm sure a lot of people out there want to know, what is the most important thing right now, today, to know about building wealth?
Well, there's a few things that are super important right now. First of all, I think a lot of people really are mired in fear because there's so
Mhm.
much on the news and in the newspaper and everywhere, just all this fear about the crisis, the economy, our banking system, debt. There's just so much out there that, people's attitudes about money is the most important thing. And I have the 8 steps to wealth that I teach, and that's what most millionaires follow to build their wealth. It's also what I follow to become a millionaire. And that very first step is always to have a wealthy mindset. So it's about more than positive thinking. It's about actually feeling gratitude and grateful for what we already have. So you acknowledge the wealth that you already have, and can stay positive and out of fear.
Now, Kathy and I have done numerous shows with numerous entrepreneurs, and it always seems to come back to this one thing every single time. Anyone who has been successful always talks about this, the mindset. Not about working their tail off for, 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week, not about putting the nose to the grindstone, not the old school methods. It's all about the mindset. And that, for some, can be a difficult, I guess, idea to overcome and to
Right.
embrace. I being one of those individuals, I've embraced it fully now, in part thanks to you, Linda, and your teaching, and through Kathy as well, about affirmations, so many great things about mindset. But in today's economy, it is what we're seeing on the televisions and all of the media is this very bleak picture that it's going to be horrible. just lay over and die because the economy is stinking and you're going down with it. How does a wealthy mindset, how can one have a wealthy mindset in this economy? How do we overcome that?
Well, first of all, the Bible of wealth building is really Think and Grow Rich. If you think back to the most scientific document that we have from a group of the wealthiest people ever, it really goes back to the book Think and Grow Rich. So in that book, which by the way I read when I was about 10 years old, because I was a very unusual child, I was just fascinated by wealth building and wanted to know, why are some people rich? It talks about your mindset, and it talks about how important it is that you do have a positive mindset. Now, having said that, think about Henry Ford, who said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So I like to change that up a little bit and say, whether you think you're wealthy or think you're not, you're right. So we have to start with the wealth that we have and seeing all of our blessings and seeing what we've already been given, because whatever you focus on, you get more of. And that might sound kind of woo-woo for some people, but it really is true. I was just mentoring one of my clients, and she ended up having her best sales year ever. She's a commission salesperson for advertising, for radio advertising. So last year she just had her best year ever. And we were talking, and she said, well, this year isn't going to be as good as my year last year. And I said, wait a minute, time out. We're 5 weeks into the new year, and you've decided you're not going to have as good of a year as you did last year? What's up with that? And, it turns out not only did she have the best year, but her boss said she had made the most commissions they've ever paid anyone in the company's history.
Wow.
And yet she had decided she wasn't going to have as good of a year this year. So you see, we do this to ourselves. We decide how successful we're going to be or we're not going to be, and it's within our power. So I told her the antidote for that, and the antidote for everyone, is to decide the success you want to have first. And then once you can believe that and believe it all the way to your subconscious and do the exercises that I teach to get your subconscious to change so you actually believe you can have the success and the wealth, then you'll do the things to create the wealth and make it happen. It's not the other way around. You don't work hard and try and create wealth. You believe that you'll have wealth, and it begins to bring opportunities to you, and you begin to see how that works. So I teach a little bit of the metaphysical along with very practical steps with wealth building.
I'll tell you what, Brian was just talking about affirmations and some of the teachings and things that we've learned from you, Linda, and that is such an important piece, and I know we're going to touch on that a little bit later, but right now with the way things are, when you were talking about the title of the show and how to build wealth on a budget, is it possible with what we have incoming in our paychecks if we're working or if we're entrepreneurs, is it possible to take that and do something with it now?
Oh my gosh, this is the best time that I've ever seen to build wealth. And, during my lifetime, during my adult lifetime, I've lived through two bubbles. I've lived through the technology bubble, which is where I made my first million and invested to make that. And then through the real estate bubble, which I also was very successful and made a lot of money in. And now we're building up to another bubble. But bubbles by definition are invisible when they're building. So most people don't see them when they're starting to happen. They only see them at the end, right before they peak and when they become obvious to everyone. So right now, yes, there are the underpinnings of a tremendous bubble building, which with very little money is going to allow people to build a lot of wealth. And this is what most people don't realize right now, is that these cycles repeat. There are cycles of different investments, and they rotate. And so the same investments that we just had the bubbles in are not where the money's going to be made in the future. And people need to learn to look forward to where the cycle is going and where the next bubble is building, and they will be able to build wealth with very little money. With just maybe a few $1,000s, they can build tremendous wealth. So and I'm talking really, astronomical compounding that really can build a lot of money for people. And this is what people aren't recognizing, and it's what most traditional advisors aren't talking about right now, but it's something the very, very wealthy know, and actually billionaires are very familiar with how this works, that this is where they're investing. And you can see the most successful investors ever in history that are alive today are positioning themselves to build tremendous wealth in this next bubble.
Well, let me just ask this and interject this. I think, kind of going back to fear and mindset, when we have less, we tend to retreat into fear because we know we have to have X amount to make ends meet, right? So with that, it's hard sometimes to think about building when we're spending so much time just figuring out how we're going to cover the mortgage or how we're going to buy food next week. So it's kind of a push and pull, but it's exciting knowledge to know. And I know that, as we move forward through the show, we're going to find out more about that. But it's interesting to know that we can take some of the things that we just take for granted and don't realize that we have assets available to use and grow it with, and kind of release some of those fears and have the right mindset and put it into place so that we can actually build during a time like this when we feel like we don't have so much.
Exactly. Well, right now there is a real transition that we're going through, and the old ways of doing business are going away, just like we see in publishing, in advertising, in newspapers. A lot of the old way of doing things is changing, and we have new things, new technology that's coming in, and that creates new opportunity. And the majority of wealth that exists today has been created in just the last decade. I mean, in a very short period of time, we've had tremendous wealth created. And so even though people are feeling less wealthy, the reality is the opportunities to build wealth are better today than they've ever been. We just have to start looking at the opportunities in a different way and see how technology makes it possible for us to even build more wealth. Because nowadays you don't have to trade time for money anymore. You can use the internet, you can use other technology to build more wealth for yourself and create more income for yourself. So people have to start thinking differently. But in addition to that, there's simple strategies that they can do that can help them, like you were bringing up mortgages. I always recommend that people pay an extra 1/12 a year on their mortgage payment. So if your mortgage payment just, for an easy round number is $1,200 a month, then that would be an extra $100 a month that you would add onto your mortgage payment to help make an extra payment each year. And by making one extra payment each year, you can significantly cut down the interest that you're paying on your mortgage and cut down the number of years that it will take to pay it off. And in this type of environment where housing prices may be continuing to decline, it can help pay down your balance so that you don't owe more than your house is worth. So it's really important right now for people to pay 1/12 extra on each mortgage payment, or even 1/6 extra, 2/12 extra payments if they can. That will really make a huge difference if you're going to, continue to reduce your interest and in this situation where housing prices continue to go down. That's a huge tip.
Wow, Brian, that was some awesome information.
Yeah, I was like, woo! No, I'm just kidding. This is one intelligent woman, ladies and gentlemen, and I want you to really listen to this, because we are in what everyone else is saying, the worst of economic times, and you just heard Linda P. Jones state that this is one of the greatest times for opportunity in history. So, and she is successful. Whoops, point down. That's where she is. She is successful. She has done it. At age 38, she became a millionaire. Don't listen to the general media out there. They are there for doom and gloom, for ratings on television, etc. In fact, Linda has some great video clips of that, which we'll get into this later, but she has a fantastic event you must go to. She covers all the bases, but like the intro said, she is unlike any other financial advisor you probably have ever come across. And it's not this voodoo magic of any kind. It's actual sound, very sound advice, techniques. I can't go through all of it because that would be her event. It's incredible. You touched earlier, Linda, on cycles. If we could get back to that for a second, because that really interests me. I also love the bubbles, and you teased us. I noticed that you didn't tell us what the next one was going to be. It was tech and then real estate and then this tease. So I'm ready to jump in and take a veritable bubble bath right now, because I want to know what that last bubble is. But let's move on to cycles, because you may not want to reveal that just yet. Exactly what are cycles when you talk about them, and why are they important to building wealth?
Well, this is something that I learned after leaving the industry, the financial industry, 25 years plus, and after studying to become a certified financial planner, having a business degree. I mean, really being fascinated by wealth building, what works to build wealth, representing top money managers who were successful building wealth. I knew a lot about how to build wealth and what different strategies there were, but I never heard about how cycles repeat and how they are actually tied into time and energy and really it's sort of metaphysical, but they do show up in different ways. And originally this kind of came up when in the early 1900s people were studying crops and weather patterns and planetary movement, and they were seeing that there was a relation between all of that and what happened in the crops, which eventually ended up in what happened in financial markets and what happened in commodities markets. Well, over time, people saw that there were patterns that repeated. And so we've been in some cycles for most of our generation, for most of our investing lifetime. We've been in a cycle where interest rates have peaked in 1982, and interest rates have been coming down for 30 years. Interest rates generally run in a 30-year cycle, so we're just at the bottoming cycle now of interest rates, and I predict that they're going to be going up for the next 30 years. So we're going to see this upward trending, not in a straight line, but a gently curving, line, and they'll have ups and downs some years, but in a general trend, I think for the next 30 years, we're going to see rising interest rates. During that time, we also saw a very successful stock market cycle that lasted from 1982 till 2000. And basically, we're going to see that the stock market is out of favor and has been out of favor for about the last 11 years. But most people don't realize that that's true. But we just had the worst decade ever in history of any 10-year period for the stock market. So that is definitely out of favor, and what has been in favor has been actual hard assets, or what I'll call commodities, things that come from the ground, things that are things like energy, precious metals, agriculture, things like that, things that are hard assets that you can actually touch and are in limited supply. And those things are actually the cycle that we're in and have had tremendous performance already for 11 years. So that's the underlying cycle that we're in that will eventually peak in another bubble.
Wow. That is a wealth of information, no pun intended. But I mean, it's something like Brian was saying a few minutes ago that you do not get listening to traditional media. People are not talking about this kind of stuff because they don't want us to know, right?
Well, it's I don't think that it's that they don't want us to know. It's that this was not taught in the traditional financial ways that we learn. I mean, it wasn't.
So they don't know then, maybe.
Exactly. I mean, I learned this after the 2008 financial crisis, when I started looking at what's actually causing the crisis, what's actually going on behind the scenes, and started looking at who knew what was going to happen before the crisis happened, who predicted it, what did they invest in, and where are they investing now? Well, John Paulson was one of the most successful investors in the crisis. Of course, he shorted the subprime market, which were the lower quality mortgages, and basically benefited, found a way to invest to profit when those mortgages were becoming worthless, and made over $7 billion in a year or a little more. And then I saw where he's investing now, and of course now he's investing in tangible assets, in precious metals, and he and a lot of other billionaires and very successful people are looking at this space. And what is really causing this is the underlying debt issue with our governments. And this is not just in the US, it's in Europe, it's in other markets, but basically because of all the debt that's being issued and the sovereign debt with these countries, what's happening is that's causing currencies to erode. And when currencies become worth less, then precious metals tend to be worth more because they are also a form of currency, but they hold their value better. So that's part of the underlying trend, is that the currencies are actually losing value, and precious metals like gold and silver are actually gaining value, or they're holding their value, while paper currencies are actually depreciating against them. But that's the underlying trend that's causing this, and this is the cycle that we're in that's going to be reaching more of a crescendo as this continues to happen.
Well, you were talking earlier about paying 1/6 or 1/12, and one of our friends and viewers, Gene, who is here with us almost every week, is asking a question here, and he's saying that he right now is paying principal plus 55%, so it's almost double. So he's asking, do you recommend that, or would you say he should do something else?
Yeah, I mean, he's making extra payments, and that's a good thing to do. You want to continue to pay extra principal because that's what's really going to get your payment. It doesn't affect your payment, but it does affect your mortgage balance. So it does pay off your long-term interest and help you pay off your mortgage sooner. So good job, Gene.
Well, the other thing is, Brian alluded to earlier, and we are very excited about the event that you have coming up here in June. And so, when is that, Brian? What's the date? June
21 to the 23rd.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
21st to the 23rd.
21st to the 23rd. Brian and I went to your event last year, and for anybody that is watching this show live, or for those that will see this in the recorded version, Brian and I could tell you many, many things about the information that Linda shared at her event. Brian, why don't you tell a little bit?
My goodness, I don't know where to begin.
About what just even sharing a bit about it will be amazing.
I found one thing really interesting were the audio or video clips that you had, Linda, of these investment experts that were basically They weren't saying the things that actually happened. They were making these predictions, and there was only one, I don't remember his name, but he was nailing it on the head, and there were about 5 or 6 others that were completely against him in every situation and every venue that this guy was sitting at in front of studios. He was always the odd man out, but he was the right one. And he was
right.
His teachings were similar and in line with what you were teaching at the event, but he was this oddball out, and it was fantastic because these were all done in the past. We now know what really happened, and he was right in most every case. That was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that was actually a clip. You can Google it and look it up on YouTube. It's called Peter Schiff Was Right, and his name is spelled SCHIFF. So Sam, Charlie, Harry, Igloo, Frank, SCHIFF. Peter Schiff Was Right. And I think it was a 2004, 2005 video with him on CNBC, CNN, and other financial channels and financial shows, where other experts were debating him, were ridiculing him. He was saying the real estate bubble was going to pop. They were making fun of him. They were laughing at him. I mean, it was really horrible how they were treating him.
It was.
And every single thing he said was exactly on target, exactly happened. He talked about the banking crisis that was coming, how the banks were going to fail, how the stock market was going to crash. I mean, he predicted it all years ahead of 2008. And so I used those clips to show how it was foreseeable what was going to happen, and how what he's continuing to predict and why that is. And once you understand those things, and I teach what those things are, these underlying trends that are happening and this underlying bubble that is forming, you can understand where to actually use it to build wealth. And billionaires are doing that right now.
And this is the thing. There are so many things that we could share with people about how amazing and over the top your event was. Brian and I attend a lot of different events and have a lot last year. Yours in particular, different for many, many reasons, but you totally take the people that come and immerse them into the feeling of what it's like to be wealthy. So it's not just your teachings and the principles and the blueprint, if you will, step by step of walking us through so that we understand how it all comes together and how to utilize the tools that you provide, but you also give us the feeling so that the minute we walk in and even when we walk out, we are just in this whole immersed feeling that we are there, and that we can take the teachings that you have given us and walk out the door and become what you've taught us. It's an absolutely phenomenal experience. And Brian and I are both excited about what you've shared with us so far about what this new event's going to be, because last time was small potatoes. So we can't wait for what the next one's going to bring.
Well, thank you, Kathy and Brian. I really feel like it's important for people to experience wealth while they're learning about wealth, because it is so much a mindset, and there are so many programs that we have running that block the wealth that we want to have. So one of the things I did, as you remember, was I gave people $1 million bills, and I think everyone inherited $7 million, which was enough for you to have wealth, but not enough for you to not be careful about how to spend it. So I gave you an example of what to do with it. People really loved that, and they said, we really felt like we had the money. We really felt like, we were really wealthy. And so they want me to do that again. So we'll probably have a little bit different exercise, but we'll probably do something like that again. But I really think it's important for people to get the experience and the feeling of wealth. And, sometimes I get tired of going to events where I just feel a little bit like, you're ushered in, you have, the basics or something, and then you're ushered out. And I want people to feel really spoiled and taken care of, and it's, luxurious setting, feel like they're in luxury and understand what wealth is all about. So
Well, you certainly do that. You spoiled us, that's for sure. I just want to share something from a viewer, if I can, real quick. It's Charlene, and she's saying, Linda, do you agree with some of the trend forecasters that are in the U.S. that say that we're headed for a hyperinflation as as globally the currencies fail?
Well, that is the trend is for the currency to continue to weaken, and we've already started to see some inflation. When you go to the grocery store and you buy strawberries and they're organic and they're $6, you know that that's a lot more than they used to be.
Yeah.
Or when you buy imports and they're a lot more expensive, that's because of the dollar weakening. So we're already starting to see more inflation, but the reality is the way our government calculates inflation rates is not the way they used to do it. So when they tell us it's only 2%, we're not looking at energy or housing costs, which are the majority, or food costs, which are the majority of the cost of the cost of living. So we're excluding the things that really skew the inflation numbers higher. We've taken those out of the equation, so we're just looking at it as if it's not really a problem. But there's a person named John Williams who studies inflation rates, and he calculates it the way it used to be calculated a decade or longer ago. And he says we're already running at double-digit inflation rates. It's already over 10% annually, and that it's growing. So yes, I do think that we will get to hyperinflation as the currency continues to weaken, which is happening because of the debt that our government is creating. So we're already roughly $15 trillion in debt. Remember that a trillion is so much more conceptually than we can realize a billion is. A billion is about 800 feet tall, or about the height of the Washington Monument, of $1,000 bills stacked on top of each other. But a trillion is not 10 miles or 20 miles or 30 miles. It's 69 miles high of $1,000 bills versus 800 feet for one billion. So when we say trillions and we throw these numbers out there like trillions, we don't conceptually think about how much more it is than a billion, but it's 69 miles tall is
Wow.
$1 trillion. So we're already $15 trillion in debt. And if you add in, a lot of our other longer term commitments in our government, we are, way beyond being able to pay back our debt. In fact, our debt is about equal to 1 year's GDP right now. So we've got tremendous debt. So this is what's going to be causing the continued weakening of our currency, and which will eventually cause hyperinflation. So yes, I do agree that that is the trend and it will continue.
Hey, you know something I haven't done yet, Kathy, that I almost forget every daggone show?
I know.
For
I
those-
knew you were going to do it. I knew it.
For those of you watching us live or recorded on celebritycreators.com, you'll see this gorgeous picture of Linda sitting there wearing her beautiful outfit. Don't do it right now, but click on her nose. Not Linda right beneath me, but the one on the other spot on this page, and I can't remember I'm pointing the right way or
It's
not.
like somewhere down there.
You can't miss her. She's just as gorgeous there as she is live. Click right on her nose, and that will take you to her Facebook page. Be sure to like her, get to know her there, follow her every word. She puts out nuggets all the time. And in addition to that, beneath there's a nice, beautiful green banner where it says Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, where women become wealthy and smart. Now, men, I want to tell you something right now. I went to her event, and there weren't many of us men there, but I did not feel like this was an event strictly for women. And I'm being absolutely serious with this because I got a lot out of this. In fact, Linda allowed my son, which I will forever be grateful, to come and help along with me, who is only 15 years old. She trusted in my judgment that he was mature enough, and he is. And we got, both my son and I got so much out of this that, gender doesn't matter. So men, click on that link as well. That's my point here. Do it, or Linda will come after. No, I'm kidding. Click on that link. She has a great opt-in form there where you can get a free video, I think it is right now. Is that correct, Linda? And do that, but don't do it now because we're live right now. Or if you're watching the recording, you don't want to stop the recording and do all that just yet. Just don't forget, once the show's over, click on her nose first and the banner second, and you're going to be immersed in a wonderful, wealthy environment. I'm feeling so bubbly today.
Well, Brian, you bring up a really good point because the reality is that I'm a wealth mentor to men, to couples, to women, to single people. It doesn't matter whether you're men or women, but I did get a lot of requests from women to be a role model and teach women. And so I decided that I would say that I am a wealth builder, and wealth mentor to women. But the reality is that a lot of men follow me too. I love working with men. And so there's really no bias to men or women. It's just, I did have a lot of women say they wanted, someone else besides that nice blonde lady on TV.
With the short blonde hair. The
with
short.
the short blonde hair, yeah. To talk about money, and they liked the way that I did it, so they asked that I talk, specifically to them. So that's how that came about. But there really is, no preference on my part in terms of who's better to work with or anything like that. It's just that's how that came about.
And I can completely attest to that. Not for a microsecond did I ever feel alienated because I was a male at this event. Not for a moment. Not either from you, Linda, or the people that attended, the folks that you attracted to this event. I got to be honest with you, I was extremely comfortable in this environment that you had put together. And there were, 3-4 guys total, somewhere around
Right.
there with my son is included, and a bunch of beautiful women, which that was okay. I'm married and I'm happy. But the most beautiful of which was on stage, of course. But it was fantastic. I got a ton out of it. It was, and the food, oh my goodness. Let's not even go there, but oh my gosh. Guys, if you want to go and eat like a king, I don't know if you're doing that again this time, Linda, but wow, that was over the top. I think I gained like 10 pounds, and I was very happy to do so.
That's what I was going to say. I'm wearing sweatpants.
It was immaculate, incredible food. Oh my goodness. She immersed, like Kathy said earlier, you are immersed in an environment of wealth, literally. And in fact,
Yeah, we didn't serve rubber chicken. No.
you
We had
talked
champagne
about,
in the pool.
Yeah, no Popeye's chicken.
yeah, we had a good time. But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, in my career, I spent probably 99% of my time working solely with men. I mean, they were mostly male financial advisors, mostly male clients, so actually, over my 25 years, I spent the majority of my time almost exclusively with men. And then when I became an entrepreneur, I was in these groups and there were a lot of women, and they were just like, please, be an advocate for women and address us too. So that's how that all came about. But absolutely, I'm totally comfortable speaking with men. They're definitely invited, and I'd really love to see more married couples come together to my next event, because this is going to be a much bigger event. This is going to be in Los Angeles, so more people can get there easier than coming to Palm Springs. I'm promoting this a little bit longer. The last one, I put together pretty quickly. It was very inspired. And so this one is going to be in LA at the Ritz-Carlton, and we're just going to have a fabulous time. It's going to be the same, great information, great ways to build wealth and make money. And I hope people, want to join us. It's just, we're going to have a great time, and it's going to be really, really valuable to people to learn how to build wealth really without having to have a lot of money, but have a major impact on wealth building and major impact on, your financial future.
Fantastic.
We I want to pose a question here. Welcome to the show, Linnea. Brian Linnea is on with us tonight.
Hi,
and
Linnea.
She's saying, please ask Linda about the discussion that the American dollar will no longer be the worldwide standard of currency within 10 years.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about that. Of course, we've had the advantage being the world's reserve currency. Oil is traded in US dollars, and there's no other currency that can really take its place right now. But there are discussions going on among the major countries to have some other form of reserve currency. Certainly Russia and China have voiced very loudly that they do not want to see the dollar continue to be the world's reserve currency. And so what we may have in the future is more of a basket of currencies. There's something called SDRs that are basically a basket of currencies, and we could see something like that in the future become the world's reserve currency. So that's quite possible, but definitely we have some other major powers around the world that would like to not have the dollar continue to be the world's reserve currency. And they, China being our major trading partner and someone who carries a lot of our debt, they have a major say in what's going on with us as well. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah.
We're shaking and bubbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to show everybody proof of one little thing that what Linda does at her event. She gave it all those millions of dollars. I carry this in my wallet to this day. Here, I'll put it up on full screen there. There you go, $1 million. It's even got the little curl to prove that it's in my wallet. It's not a fresh bill. See it flying? So we do listen to what Linda says. And, pardon?
I know.
Well, it gives you that sense.
About those bills. People love those $1 million bills.
But I have $2 million left because our granddaughters said, I think I told you, the 8-year-old took them, right? And she was actually at the mall with my daughter and pulled it out and tried to buy something with it. It was so cute.
Linda, was it you that told us at one time that it would be good to carry a $100 bill in your wallet because it gives you that sense of abundance? And so
yes,
I've got that too. And that one's real. I can use that. But
hey,
you know
Brian,
what?
will you adopt me?
Yeah. But I got to tell you, this was actually a gift. But I got to tell you, it actually works every time I open my wallet and I see, especially the 100, because I know that's real. That, it gives you that little, I don't know, it's an internal mindset of security, of abundance. Whether or not I have like $2 aside from that 100 or another 100 or 200 in there, it doesn't matter because that 100's always there. If I don't spend it, I've got it. And it's kind of like the security blanket, if you will. But it really works what Linda teaches. And these are just subtle little things, little nuggets that she throws out that if she teaches it and it seems really out there, don't even think about, oh, that's out there. Just do it. Look at her. She's successful. Listen to her.
It's a mindset. It goes back to, are you the kind of person, now listen, you're one of two kinds of people, right? You're the kind of person that either carries money in your wallet and keeps your gas tank full, or your gas tank's always running on empty and your wallet's always empty. You're one of those two people, right? So what you want to be is the kind that keeps money in your wallet and keeps your gas tank full, because then you always know that you have enough. You never are in this mindset of running out, or maybe you're going to run out of gas and be stranded, and all this fear that comes up that maybe you're going to run out of money or maybe you're going to run out of gas. So if you keep your gas tank full and you keep your wallet full, you always feel like you have enough, you're wealthy. It's a subtle shift of mindset, but it's a very important shift. So if you're the kind that's always running on empty, knock that off. When you get down, when your gas tank starts to get down, make sure you keep it on full. That is a subtle but a very strong mindset shift that anyone can do.
So Linnea is asking, are there really $1 million bills?
There are not. Those are not real bills.
Darn it.
The largest denomination right now is a $100 bill, I understand. But those were just fun money. Fun money for more mindset thought stuff.
Awesome. And we both still have ours.
Getting worn.
Yeah.
So Brian, do you wanted to talk about the decline of the dollar?
I think I will. Thank you for saving me, Kathy, because I was sitting there going, where are we? Brought us back to reality, brought me back to reality. I was still
Well,
floating away
we're
in my
having
bubbles.
such a good time, and this is a really cool thing for me, because typically when you think about money, it's kind of like, it's like either, oh my gosh, I don't have enough, or it's like, okay, I've got plenty, and so you move in different directions. But to have this much fun and talk about building wealth and the economy and all of these things and have this much fun, I think it's awesome. So it's okay to get lost once in a while.
Well, let's talk about some practical things that people can do, because here's the thing. People can get all scared when we talk about the economy and the dollar and, is it going to lose being the world's reserve currency, or are we going to go into hyperinflation? There's a lot of fear out there. And what I want to tell you is that there's always two sides to every coin when you invest, all right? When the stock market was going down, a lot of people were losing money, but the other side of that coin was there were people that were making fortunes. And that's how investing is. When someone's losing, someone else is always winning. There's always another side to the trade. So while we're going into this scary period and things that are causing fear for people, what I want you to know is that there's another side to that. And the side that you're not hearing about is the side that you can build tremendous wealth because of the counterweight that's happening that is going to cause precious metals to increase in value. So today, for as little as $35 or roughly $35 to $40, you can go buy a silver American Eagle coin that can be worth, hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars in the future, because silver is so rare and because it's being used for technology right now. Not only in our phones, but in some solar technology and other energy technology that's coming out, it's going to cause a lot of demand for silver, and it's still very expensive.
Interesting.
So you can build tremendous wealth by just starting to, collect American Eagle coins. That's a very, very easy way and practical thing that someone can do to build wealth. I've talked about, paying a little bit extra on your mortgage. Another thing you can do is try to make your car last a little bit longer, because most people are buying cars too often. And they're buying cars maybe every 3, 4, 5 years when they can actually last a lot longer.
Right.
And you can put off, spending $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on a car. That's a lot of money that if you can invest instead, it can make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of difference over your investment lifetime in the amount you could have in your retirement fund. So you really want to make your car last as long as possible. Don't be buying cars, as often as most Americans do. Just take really good care of your car, get it tuned up every 3,000 miles, make it last, and keep your money in your investments and not in your cars.
Those are really good tips, and something that I want to share, and it's what I gained from going to your last event, and that was the importance of the gold and silver part of it. And consequently, up where I live, we happen to have a mint that you can purchase both gold and silver from. So that was really exciting to find out that it was here. And these guys, obviously, because that's what they do, have a constant tab on what the fluctuation of the market is. So I've taken advantage of that since being at your event and purchasing coins, different coins, because of the fact that it is a wealth building aid. And it is amazing to me how much it has fluctuated since your event last year. It's very, very exciting. So, like Brian said, and you alluded to earlier, listen to what she's saying because she knows what she's talking about.
Well, here's the thing that most people don't realize. I talked about the stock market having the worst decade ever for the last 10 years, for actually 2000 to 2010. But what most people don't realize is that in 2001, we started in this, what I'll call the commodity cycle. So we got out of the stock cycle, we're in the commodity cycle, these tangible assets, precious metals, energy, agriculture, things like that. So what people don't realize is that gold has increased 17% annually every year for 11 years in a row.
Wow.
Okay, 17% annually every year for 11 years consecutively. It's the only asset class that's gone up for 11 years consecutively. It's the only one that had a positive year in 2008. And yet most financial advisors are not telling you to add any gold or any silver to your portfolio. And that's crazy because we have an 11-year track record, and this is not the end of the cycle. We haven't even seen the greatest returns yet. If you look at silver, we had 10 consecutive years of silver compounding at 24% a year. That means your money is doubling every 3 years at 24% a year. Now, last year was an anomaly because silver didn't have a positive year last year. It was slightly negative. But intra-year, during the year, it had a 100% move. It actually got up to about $48, but it just ended the year about $26 an ounce. But already in the first quarter of this year, it's up about 21% in January alone. So silver is a tremendous investment. This is a great time to be getting in. Have a long time horizon on it, have a multi-year time horizon on it, because it is volatile and it is going to move quite a bit. But if you keep your eye on the long term, you will build some tremendous wealth, I believe, because this is where the bubble is going, and this is going to be the beneficiary of the debt cycle, of the currency devaluation that we're going through. So you have to have this in your portfolio.
Now, based on cycles and where we are in the current one, when would you say it might be too late, or can you even predict that far down the road for someone to, say, start investing in precious metals? How long do they have to build up some cash reserve to invest into these precious metals, in other words?
Okay, so most cycles alternate. And so what we see with stocks and commodities, we see them alternate every 17 to approximately 20-year periods. So for 11 years into the cycle, we have 6 to 9 more years of this cycle. And usually the latter part of the cycle is where you see the biggest move. So even though we might have the most time behind us, that doesn't mean we've seen the biggest move yet. We've actually not seen the biggest move yet. Wow. So the biggest wealth building is ahead of us. Now, having said that, if you can go back and remember the technology bubble and the real estate bubble, and remember at the peak of the bubble, there were some things in common. You might remember that people were talking about, they were sort of bragging a lot about how much money they'd made in real estate, or how much money they made in tech stocks or internet stocks. You might remember that they wanted to quit their job and flip houses, or that they wanted to quit their job and become day traders. Those are signs that people think that this trend is going to continue forever, because it's now an obvious trend. It's now out there in the open. It's no longer invisible, because bubbles grow invisibly under the radar. But when they're about to peak, they become obvious to everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean the cab driver, the UPS delivery person, the shoe shine person. I mean, they're all going to give you tips on, how they know that this is the place to build wealth. That's going to be apparent to everybody right at the peak of the bubble. So when everybody's talking about quitting their job to trade gold stocks, or they're all going to be buying, gold like we see on TV. People are buying gold
Right.
and offering to buy your gold. When everybody's offering to buy your gold, okay, we're at the peak of the bubble. So you'll know from watching those same signs from other bubble peaks that we are close to the peak of the bubble at that point.
That's, you know what, and that's something else that you taught and talked about at the last event as well. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to say that just out the gate, I'm going to ask the question and say yes. The question is, can such a small investment really build wealth? I just want to say you taught me, yes, it can, because I've taken very little. And if, to me, and from my perspective, if you can only buy a little, then you buy a little. So I'm going to turn it over to you, but I bought, and that's what I did, a little, and now it's growing.
Well, we did have a commodity cycle that happened in the 70s. It peaked in 1980. And so we did have a time where gold and silver and also diamonds were actually really hot back then and really peaking. But what we had were, we actually had gold and silver stocks that were selling for less than $1 that went to over $100 a share. Okay, that can take very little money and can make you a millionaire. So I'm not promising that. I'm not teaching that. I'm not giving penny stocks that are going to do that. But I am telling you that it's possible that when you have a bubble situation, that you can have this incredible speculation that just goes crazy, where very little money actually becomes a lot. And we saw this with the internet stocks too.
Yes.
We saw that very little money went into, some of these internet stocks, AOL, Yahoo, Amazon, and they went crazy and they made millionaires, thousands of millionaires.
Yeah.
When Microsoft went public, it made thousands of millionaires. When Facebook is going public, it's going to make 1,000 millionaires. There is the potential to build tremendous wealth, and we're going to see that in the next bubble, which is in this commodity cycle. So absolutely. And I think silver is one of the best places to invest, because it's not as speculative as something like a penny stock. It's something that's in high demand and in low supply. And when you have something that's in high demand and low supply, that is the equation to make a lot of money. So it's a matter of time, but I believe that silver will be priced much higher in the future than it is today, because there's just not that much of it, and it's really in demand for the technology that we have. So at some point, the price will no longer be suppressed, and it will be amazing how high it goes, I think.
That's interesting. I had heard it, but I didn't know if I believed it, that silver was being used in cell phones. And someone held up their phone and said, each phone is worth hundreds of dollars. I'm like, well, if it was, then they'd be charging a lot more than they are now. So I knew that wasn't true, but it must be small amounts for, they're very good for conductive material. So I'm guessing that's what they're used for, but interesting.
Well, the problem with silver is that very little of it is reclaimed. Most of the gold that has ever been mined is still in existence above ground. But most of the silver that's been mined isn't kept, because people throw out, technology that has it in it. It's used up. It was used for photography and other things. So it gets tossed away, and we don't recycle it as we do gold. So a lot of the silver has actually disappeared and been used up. So it's,
wow.
There's a lot less than there used to be.
And that was a silver nugget.
Talk about a hot tip there. So it's like, check it out, and it's like I was saying, even if you can only do a little bit at a time, and just watch it grow as you go, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's great for kids. Get your kids silver coins, for their birthday, put it away for them. Or, the Chinese are buying gold and silver for wedding gifts and birthday presents, and now it's legal for them to actually collect gold and silver. So they're very anxious to collect it, and they've even started a gold exchange. So there's going to be a lot more demand for gold and silver as currency as people in India become more affluent, as people in China become more affluent, as there are more cars made, and cars in India only costing $2,000, invented by Tata Motors, who's selling this very low price car. So there's there's just a lot of things that are creating more demand, and a lot of people around the world are wanting silver and wanting gold. So this is a great time to get in, and it's just extremely low priced right now. So great opportunity.
Well, and I think that's a great idea too. So we all have birthdays coming up sometime this year. So we ought to just throw it out there. If you're not sure what to get us, we'll take gold or silver. We're not picky. We'll take either one.
There you go.
Just watch those shipping costs. It's heavy metal. Wow. Okay, one last question before we're. My goodness, did you see the time,
I know.
Kathy? Holy smokerino! All right.
I know.
What about people whose home is worth less than they owe right now? What can they do? Which that's many.
Oh,
people.
good one.
Well, that's where I think they should pay extra on their mortgage to pay down their debt. But just like any bubble, I don't think that real estate is going to come back. A lot of people thought when technology stocks went down, internet stocks went down in 1999, 2000, actually 2000, 2001, 2002, people thought, oh, I can buy them and they'll go right back up again. And a lot of people, I think, feel like, oh, I can buy real estate while it's cheaper, it's going to go right back up again. But that's not what happens to bubbles. They don't just reinflate. They go back in their cycle, and they don't reinflate until their cycle comes back around again. So right now we're repeating that cycle that we had in up to 1980, in the 70s and up to 1980, and that's where we're going to be. So you've got to look forward, move to the next cycle, and don't get stuck trying to think that the old cycle is going to come back and reemerge. Having said that, I think there are probably some good real estate values out there, maybe in apartment buildings, and maybe if you can get some things that cash flow, there might be some good buys. But it's no longer the day where you can just buy a home and it's going to go up and have more value, because there's more supply, less demand, and with interest rates going up over the next several years, that will put housing price pressure on housing prices as well to keep them down. So we've got a tough road ahead for real estate, I think.
Well, I got to tell you, Brian and I were totally thrilled. Before we came on the show tonight, you shared with us that you want to offer a gift for our viewers. Do you want to share that?
Sure. So anyone who would like to do a Wealthy and Smart strategy session with me, I'd offer a free half hour. We can talk about and put our heads together and find out what's the best way for you to build wealth during this next bubble, what some strategies are, see if there's areas that you need help, or also working on your mindset and getting through blocks and belief systems, because I always start with mindset but go into very practical things about where to build wealth now, strategies, things that you can put into place, what you can do with your portfolio to actually get it to start building wealth again and getting control of your financial future. So anyone who would like to have a half hour with me, they can go to my website, which is lindapjones.com/programs. PROGRAMS, and there's a little link there where you can click on that, fill out a questionnaire, and that gets emailed to me. We'll get back to you. My assistant will set up an appointment to talk with me for half an hour for free. That's
awesome. And Brian just put that on the screen, Linda, up so that it's in beautiful white across your pink, so it shows up beautifully.
Right.
Well, I got to tell you, it's like Brian was saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, here we are at the end of another great hour, and it just feels like this was the first time you came on, not the fourth time. We're so honored that you've joined us, and we are really honored that you are one of several fabulous contributors to the Amazing Celebrity Creators Contest. Brian and I are excited about your event coming up in June. That's going to be phenomenal. So, folks, like Brian said, click on her nose, click on the banner, because you connect with her, you're going to know when that's coming up. We'll be sure that we put that information out for you as well. We are so grateful, Linda, that we attended one of the events that we have attended. Not like yours by far, but we're glad that we met you there and connected, and we've created this amazing friendship, and that you've helped us and so many other people out there with the wealth information that you have and that you share with everybody so freely. Just want to tell you thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Brian, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
And I echo everything Kathy said. Linda, you're a gem. Can you okay, folks, this was just a 1 hour show. Can you imagine spending 3 days with this woman? Holy smoker. It was awesome. We did it. It was incredible. Can't recommend it highly enough. Again, her next event is going to be June 21st through the 23rd. Be sure to click on her nose, like Kathy said. Get hooked up with her on Facebook, because that's probably where you'll find out about it first, all the great details. Somewhere in LA. If you have a specific area on that, Linda, right now, is that ready yet for folks to check out, or do they just need to stay hooked up with you?
We don't have a sales page yet, but
Okay.
if they opt in on my website, lindapjones.com,
There you
for
go.
the free video, then they'll be on my list and can receive information, my bi-monthly e-zine, and that'll have information about the live event too. But they'll get lots of wealth building information and tips as well.
And
Yeah.
all of our viewers are saying thank you. You are
Yes.
so generous. Thank you for this awesome information. So everybody is just thrilled with what you shared tonight.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Put it into practice.
There you go. Well, next week
you after.
happens to be Valentine's Day, so Kathy and I are going to take that day off to be with our loved ones, and we'll be back 2 weeks from tonight. But be sure to register on our link. Register above if you're not on it, because then that'll give you a reminder of our next show, and you'll have some other fantastic guests, just like Linda. Probably not as good, but just as good. We look forward to seeing you once again in 2 weeks' time. We love you all. Love you, Linda. Love you, Kathy. Fantastic. Thank you all. Have a great, great evening. Good night now.
Good night, everybody.